stuff out there that's good enough. You know, you can produce your own videos and put that up on Amazon. And I happened to catch some paranormal series of a filmmaker that's actually really good. It's well done. It's well edited. It's some amazing footage that just like, I don't get scared about anything, but this stuff was so eerie of these shadow people and ghosts looking around the corner where you could see the outline. And it really gave me a good idea of what ghosts actually do and how many of them, just their behavior of like looking around the corner. They didn't just pop up like, you know, you'd expect in a movie, but just peer around kind of shy and watching us. Yet we're sitting there looking for them, but they were kind of watching us, which I found fascinating as well.
Well, I think I told you like last time you were on my show, I used to manage a business in Tacoma, Washington, in an old building that was built like in the 1870s, 1880s. And it originally was a bar downstairs, and then it was a hotel upstairs, and actually it was a brothel. And then in the 60s, they took off a few of the stories of the building because it was not safe. Well, I worked there as a general manager for the business for, 13, 14 years. And I had a lot of employees, and we carried our inventory for our 3 other stores in the basement, which was originally the bar. Now, in Tacoma, the building was probably a fourth of a mile from the bay where the ships would come in and all that stuff. So they were, back in that time frame, there was a lot of, sailors, still is. But I'd have employees go down there, and, some of them were like one guy was an ex-SEAL. I had an ex-Ranger worked for me at one point. I had a guy that was a chief bosun mate on nuclear submarines. They would come up, and come into my office and say, you can fire me. I am not going down in that basement again. And they were all, their skin, you're looking at an ex-SEAL, right? And he's really flushed. And he said, hey, there's ghosts down there. It's haunted. And, the first couple times it happened, I figured, hey, because none of these people knew each other, because they come and go. So you have salespeople come and go through the years. But all these people, repeatedly, every time we hire somebody, eventually they'd come up and they say, I just had something happen in the basement. Now, the owner told me that the place was haunted, and I didn't believe him. I hardly ever went down the basement. And I think maybe after about 8-9 years, we were kind of short of employees, so I figured, hey, I'll go down and do some manual labor. I went down in the basement, and I smelled lilac all of a sudden. It got really cold. I smelled lilac, and then the smell went away. That was the first time, okay? And I figured, ooh, that's kind of weird because, the basement actually ran under one of the main streets, and I figured if anything, you'd smell the sewer, The next time I was down there all by myself. There was only 2 other people working upstairs, and somebody tapped me on the back shoulder to where it hurt really bad. And I swung around, and I was very close to like maybe punching somebody out. The problem was there was nobody there. Okay, that got me to the point where I wouldn't go down in the basement. The owner of the place that owned the business for many, many years, and his father owned the business before that, he wouldn't go down the basement, or when he did, it was very rarely and very fast. I would sometimes be in that building late at night, sometimes doing paperwork or repairing stuff, and I'd be down there like 11, 12 o'clock at night. And, and it would come and go, but going from the bottom of the sales floor, there was the steps where, because it used to be a hotel going upstairs. They were still there because that's where the offices were now for the business. I would be down there at night, and I'd hear muffled talking, and I'd hear footsteps going up the stairs. I'd run out of my office, right? And I'd look, and I figured, one of the owners are there. And then I realized I double bolted the door from the inside so nobody could get in. There was nobody there. And after that happened 2-3 times, I'll tell you, we closed at 6 o'clock. I was probably very close to the very first person getting out of that building at night. And then afterwards, I did some research and found out there was a killing, a couple killings in the bar around 1890s and around 1900. And then I guess there were some prostitutes that were killed, in the upstairs in the hotel rooms. And that made me start wondering, hey, this place, if anything, was haunted. And, when you have all these employees come up to you for all these years, telling you this stuff, at the start, you don't believe them, you just figure, hey, people's imagination. But when it happens to you, it changes your whole thought of everything.
That's true. No, it does. People that don't believe in things, or people that are skeptic, whether it's UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, once it happens to you, then you're a believer. You can listen to people's stories till you're blue in the face, but as soon as something happens to you, that's usually that defining moment where you're like, okay, I believe.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I thank God I haven't run across anything paranormal for the last few years. I tell you that working in that building in Tacoma was probably the worst thing, other than running into the Bigfoot. And, that situation was so bad. The guy with me was a medical doctor. He just opened up his new practice after doing his internship. And I lost a good friendship over it because he was so paranoid. If it got out that we ran into a Bigfoot, nobody would come in to visit him as a doctor, if you know what I mean.
Right. Or everyone would come in and visit him. Who knows?
I don't know. It could go two ways, but, he was panicking that it would put him out of business and people would classify him as a crackpot. So, he just said, hey, Gary, let's never talk about this again. In fact, we're good friends, but maybe we should just kind of distance ourselves because I can't afford a divorce and lose my practice over this.
I understand.
But I'll tell you, when you run across something like that, I tell you, it is so terrifying. And it's a terrifying thing. It doesn't go away. And that's like when I listen to other people when they talk about Bigfoot, this and that. I can tell, like the person yesterday, I can tell that, hey, maybe they read a lot of books on Bigfoot, but they never seen one. And so when I confronted him, I said, well, have you ever seen one? His answer was no. And I said, then you don't know how they respond.
Right. That's true.
So, then, how about the people who go around in cemeteries at night, with recorders and stuff like that and pick up, ghostly sounds and stuff? Have you ever tried that at all or known anybody that's done that?
Well, when I was about 19, I used to walk around. I had a thing. I couldn't sleep very well, so I would walk around at old yacht harbors and sit on the docks and listen to the creaking of the boats, and then I'd walk around tombstones and graveyards, and that was kind of my thing. Now I think back, holy cow, that was really dangerous. But I just liked the quietness of it and the peace. I never once was, I wasn't ghost hunting back then, and I just liked the peace of it. It was just quiet and nobody disturbed me.
Yeah.
But my philosophy on graveyards and cemeteries is that dead people want to hang out with the people that are living are. So the graveyards are really just markers, but there's no dead people there. Dead people like to hang out where there's life, where there's energy and living, and if there's anything wandering around there, it's very rare to me. But if people that don't really get how life works, I think they like to hang out at those places because they think, oh, well, dead people go, or where dead people go. Dead people are not at the graveyards. So, but it's the easiest go-to, so people go there. You probably have better luck finding dead people at the mortuary and leftover energy imprints there than graveyards. Go to some places where there's real death, like hospitals and asylums and, hotel rooms have a lot of suicides. But to think that the dead people hang out at graveyards is a little bit, in my opinion, naive, because there isn't that much action over there, to be honest.
I would think, where you'd probably find the most is where the person died. I mean, all of a sudden, if they died, like with a gunshot or something, in a grocery store, as a holdup, I would think there would be more a chance of, paranormal event happening at that location than the cemetery.
Yeah, sometimes that kind of energy can be really violent. Like if I walk into a place and somebody has killed themselves or there's been a murder scene. I remember once driving through, I was over in Tennessee, and a friend of mine took me, he's like, I want to take you to this museum. And I knew nothing about it. As usual, I don't like to know anything about anything. And we pulled up, and I said, oh, my God. I said, there's been some sort of fight here or something. It's really bloody. There was a war here or something. And we're just driving up on the grass. I had no idea. And then it turned out to be the Battle of Franklin, Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, holy cow, how did I pick up on that? It just felt very violent and bloody. And I didn't even know the history. I didn't even know where we're going. I thought we were going to a museum just to look at, art and paintings. But I felt it because that energy, when there's battles and blood involved, comes at you a lot quicker, at least for me, and as a psychic or an empath, a sensitive. Happy energy can flood in, but it comes in more quietly. I find that I'm hit with violent, dark energy quicker. It comes quicker. It moves quicker.
Going back to, like, you got a client at your place, have you ever got to the point where you were so scared you couldn't do it and you told the person, I'm sorry, I can't help you. There's the door, go.
Okay, first of all, I don't get scared of anything. I'm as fearless as they come. Fear is a very useless emotion, so I've sat in dark. When I had my paranormal team, I would split up everyone, and I chose to take the pitch black cellar and sit there by myself in the dark. I'm not afraid of heights. I go shark diving. There's nothing really that I'm fearful of. So I wouldn't necessarily use the word fear. However, I would say that I've encountered I have nearly 850 clients since I've moved here for 3 years. Out of those, I've had 3 very dark people, mostly people I couldn't read. And the reason being is because they're so dark, they had a block. And so I couldn't get through that block to read them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, how about if a guy comes up to you and he goes, I want to make a lot of money on the stock market? I mean, do you get those bankers or people like that coming up to you and say, hey, I need some help?
Oh, there's only 3 things in life: health, love, and career. That umbrella sums up what your whole life's about. Not
a 1957 Chevy?
Well, that falls under,
I know.
That's like extra toys and goodies, material stuff. But, no, I get people, I usually joke throughout my readings and say, don't ask me for the lottery numbers, this is not going to happen. I dabble with them myself, and I've actually picked the numbers, like 3 out of 6, but I'm still working on that. I would never give anyone lottery numbers. I've helped people with horse races, and they've won money. Again, this is not part of what I do on a regular basis. It's more just for fun, because God forbid people put their whole house and all 3 children up for sale to go and bet, and then I lost everything for them. But I advise a lot of businessmen. I advise people on the stock market. I help pick stocks for them, and they've been successful. Unfortunately, they were on a simulator. So I said, maybe you should get off of that and actually invest some real money. But I help people be successful in life, whether that's monetarily, health, relationship,